Hey guys, Robert from the Mailroom here. We just did this nice medium length square layer haircut for my friend Marco. Let's get into the video and see how we cut it. Talking to Marco, we see that we want to take a little bit of weight off the back here. We want to take some weight off the sides and generally just tighten up the haircut. I'm going to use a layering technique where we keep kind of a square shape on the sides so that this sits down really nice and tight to the head, but it still has enough structure to maintain that kind of square look we're going for. Okay, cool. So now that we have a plan, let's go ahead and get to the cut. I'm gonna start with a profile guide that goes from the front hairline all the way back to the bottom of the nape. I'm gonna work right at the apex, so right at the top of the head here where my comb is flat. So right here, if I put my hand flat on the top, comb flat on the side, I can see this nice corner that it builds. So I want to go right in the center of that. We're just going to brush the hair over the ear and clip it in place right there so that it's out of our way when we work on the back. Okay, let's get this side. So it's really important we have balance here, guys. Because if this hair is not balanced on top, if the section is not equal, the haircut will sit kind of at an angle, and we definitely don't want that. Before I start cutting the back, it's really important that we have the hair fully saturated. So I just want to add a little bit of water and make sure we have complete saturation. We're actually going to set a perimeter so that we have a guide for these layers moving up. Separate the back into two halves. So now we're just going to mirror that section on the other side. We're going to go and set this perimeter in, but we're going to use a razor so that we leave a softer line and it's not so blunt and heavy. If you need to take this up just a little bit, just grab little sections and work on them individually. Okay, that's what we want to see, where we don't have a super sharp line, but it's all to one length. So now we're going to let down the rest from the top. So we're going to start right here in the center. There's more coming off as we get to the edges here. So my first line is just off center. I'm just going to pull all of this out of the way and secure it with a clip. Now we're going to pull the other side. Again, staying at about a comb's width. So we can just clip this out of the way just to make an easier workspace for ourselves. What I'm looking for is this angle, because that's where the bottom was. All right, let's advance to the right first. I'm going to be lifting the hair over section 1, like so, to make sure we have a square shape horizontally as we move around the head. gonna split section 3. And then pull section 4. Okay, now we just need to split section 4. Grab section 5. So for this last section, I'm just going to pull it straight back into the previous and take off whatever hairs were left. All right guys, so we're going to move on to side 2, and it's important that we figure out where we left off. So to do that, I'm just going to slide my comb in from the side and lift out, and the hair is going to show me exactly where I left off. So I want a good substantial guide. So I'm going to pull that away, and that's showing me exactly where the top of my first section needs to be. So I'm pulling section 2 and pushing it over to the original profile guide. Okay, we're going to split section 2. So now we're going to cut section 3, over directing it to section 2. Now when I pull this out, I can see that it's nice and square. Okay, so I'm going to split away section 3 and grab section 4. So I want you to see, as I get into these last sections, how my over direction starts to really, really matter, because we're moving away from the flatter part of the back of the head and getting more into this part where it curves to the side. So now that we're here, again, notice my over direction. So we just have a very little bit of hair coming off the sides here, guys. We don't need to worry about the hair that's coming off. We're only worried about the hair that's staying on the head. We don't worry about what we cut off, we worry about what we leave on the head. Final section here, guys. This one's getting over directed the farthest. Okay, so I just need to cross-check this from side to side and make sure we're ending up with a square shape horizontally. I'm going to start at the top here and pull out individual horizontal sections and make sure they look nice and square. Okay, let's move on to side 1. We want to re-wet the hair, guys, to make sure we have enough saturation so that we can pull clean sections and have even tension. So we just want to get a little bit of a guide in from the back. We've just cut the back square. And so what I'm going to do is actually pull a straight line from the back. Then we want to just pull a vertical section right into our side panel. And now I'm just going to pull out a straight section square to the side of the head. And we're going to look through here and see if we have a guide to work with. There's not a super clear guide. So what I want to do actually is take this panel and pull out a cross section. From this cross section, I'm going to see the length that came up from the back. And I'm going to go about midway on that length. Cut just a square horizontal line. So now, when I lift this, we'll have a guide right from the top. And there's our guide. So I'm going to make my first section from this guide. So guys, we want the side to be square. So in order to achieve a square shape, we wouldn't want to over direct to the previous because that would end up building kind of a triangular shape out towards the front. So what we want to do is actually just come straight off the head, right on base, right there. So guys, I'm just going to advance towards the front, keeping a consistent section width, and working these square sections right on base. While we're on this side, let's go ahead and clean up the sideburn, combing everything into the ear. We're just going to work a straight line right up, being mindful of where the ear is so we don't cut it. We're going to start side 2 the same way we started side 1, separating the front of this panel away, and then pulling a straight section down the back, just to give us a good amount of guide to work with. So as I pull this out to the side, looking to see if I have a guide through the hair. It's pretty faint, so like the other side, just take a horizontal section, find where their hair is starting to taper out, and take that off. Starting from that guide up top right here, working to the bottom. So we can now get rid of our guide from the back and advance with section 2 on this side. All right guys, last section on this side. Ooh, actually we have one more. I'm gonna leave this out for now. So next to last section on this side. Making sure that's still on base, nice and square. And now we've got our last section joining them. We're just gonna pull these sections straight back. And I'm first going to get rid of half of section 1 and pull section 2. I'm over directing very slightly towards section 1 as we cut the top. Making sure I get good tension from the root. As we get to the round of the head here, I want to make sure that I'm starting to over direct and just be really conscious of my over direction, because now the head is going from flat on top and it's starting to round over. So I'm wanting to over direct in towards my previous section just like that, and then cut. Okay, great. So we have the first half of the top done. And again, to find where we left off, we just need to lift a horizontal section. And I can see that right there is where I need to start my new section. So now we're cutting section 3 on the left side of the top, over directing into section 2. Section 4 now should be our last section on this side, over directing to 3. So now guys, I just want to cross-check the top and make sure we have a nice square shape from side to side. So side 1 looked pretty good. Side 2 I'm noticing has just a little bit of deviation in the back. Otherwise looking pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure we get the sideburns started on this side before we move into our styling. All right guys, great, that's our full cut. So now we're just gonna move on to the blow dry and style, where we're gonna get this sitting a little bit better and then apply some point cutting just to break up some of this weight. All right guys, there we go. To review a little bit, we started out by talking about removing some of this weight from the sides so that we had a little bit more flow, tuck behind the ear, get this nice and clean. We also wanted to come up off the collar a little bit. So this brought him up off the collar, and this is gonna have a lot of room to grow in, because now we can see he's got a month or 2 before it starts getting to this really annoying part again. And that's the main thing, guys. You know, we really want to have our haircuts last a while. It's one thing if it looks cool in the shop, but it's a completely different thing if they can wear their hair for 2 or 3 months and it still looks great. There we go, man. How are you feeling, brother?